you think that some in the electorate will be a little sceptical about the argument being made by the Liberal Party now on the need for fiscal restraint, given the enormous levels of debt that were accumulated under the former government?
No, not at all, because we've come out of COVID stronger than any nation on earth. And that was thanks to what the Morrison government, which I was a part, actually did. More of our citizens in work now than pre-COVID, a boast no other country on earth, bar one or two, will be able to do. And we made extraordinary decisions to keep communities together, workers together, and the economy growing. Our call for fiscal restraint is because we said during the election campaign there are tough times ahead. Now, Labor didn't have an economic plan. We're seeing that now. We said that funding or money needs to be pulled out of the system. Labor had $8 billion more in direct spending and $45 billion more in off-balance sheet spending. All of that will pump prime inflation. It has to. There's nothing else it can do. Keeping in mind, Kieran, Labor also wanted to spend over $80 billion more during the pandemic, over $80 billion, including $6 billion to encourage people to get vaccinated when they'd already been vaccinated. So I'm not going to take lectures from an Albanese Labor government that wanted to spend $80 billion more.
On JobKeeper, they would have spent less on the original JobKeeper expenditure, because they said quite clearly the former government dropped the ball when it came to ensuring those who weren't losing profits didn't receive JobKeeper.
Respectfully, Kieran, JobKeeper was legislated, bipartisan, by Labor. Labor wanted to continue it when we began its wind down from March last year, and that continuance would have cost over $80 billion. So, respectfully, you couldn't be more wrong. They wanted to continue it. They wanted to spend $80 billion more on it, and they backed the scheme in its design.
They're saying they would have they're saying they would have spent the amount that was wasted more effectively. But let me just finish, if I can, on the energy question, because you talk about not having a plan. Isn't it the fact that the lack of clarity for the energy sector has meant that we are where we are today because of the several failed policies of the former government?
Well, Kieran, once again, it's a day where you and I are on opposite ends of the spectrum and are disagreeing. Not at all. The last 2 years under the coalition government, energy prices went backwards by 8%. Fact. Under this government, the Albanese government, they're going forward 18% in New South Wales, 12% in Queensland from the 1st of July, but Queensland Generation is owned by the state government. So the prices are going up 12% because Albanese government is allowing the Palaszczuk state government to thermal their prices. Running in energy requires a firm hand. Angus Taylor, as our minister, was a very firm hand and kept a very strong hand on energy prices, on the amount of gas going into the system and how it was managed. He also used the full toolbox that was available to him. This government was told during the election that there are difficult days ahead. They went in without a plan, and now we're seeing the results of that. So unfortunately, Kieran, you and I will have to disagree on this point.
Why have you been demoted in this new Liberal front bench and Alex Hawke dumped altogether? Is this been has it been a punishment of the former Morrison friends and backers?
Oh, Mr. Dutton's made it very clear that's not the case. I'm joining Angus as part of the economic team as the Shadow Assistant Treasurer and Shadow Financial Services Minister. It's a role I've done before in government. I'm looking forward very much to working with a great colleague of mine, Angus, in that economic team as one of the most senior economic ministers left after the Morrison government. So I don't see... No, not at all. No, Peter and I are very close in terms of Queensland, two of the most senior Queensland MPs still in the state, and we get on well.
We'll see you next week. Stuart Robert, thanks.